I am someone who's an eternal optimist, and I think no matter what happens to me, I always figure out how to kind of dust myself off and get up and do what I love, which today is performing in a musical. But I think for writing my book, I really wanted to make good of a really dark situation that was happening when I took a unexpected, beer brand ad. And I think that while that was such a dark period of time in my life, and I think a lot of trans people's lives, I really wanted to show that if you keep going, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm feeling happy and healthy in my life right now. So I think that's why it was so important for me to write that.
I mean, you call it a dark time. It was quite something. You had to hire security, you had threats, and you also said it wasn't just you felt it had an impact on the trans community. Tell us a little bit about how that felt.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, I am just like a musical theater gal. And so when I got thrust into the spotlight through social media, I didn't fully know what I was doing. And I was also extremely early on in my transition. And so I don't feel like I fully had the tools and resources to advocate for the community. I still don't think of myself as an activist. And so I think I needed to make sure to take a step back, not share as much as I was online, to make sure that I was protecting the community. And now I think trans people are the most important piece of my life and the people in my life that I go to for advice. And I really find it so frustrating that there's so many people talking about us, but not including us in the conversations about, our identities.
I mean, you just mentioned that you don't really see yourself as an activist and you were thrust into it. But in order to include more voices in the debate that have your lived experience, how do you see your role now? I mean, you may not want to be an activist, but in truth, you probably are one of the most high-profile trans people in the world.
Sure, thank you. I think that there's an extreme amount of responsibility, but I think now maybe my advocacy looks a little different than maybe other people. For me, it's performing in the West End, in a few weeks. And I think that storytelling is a really powerful tool to help change people's lives in their minds. And I'm hoping that through this show, We Aren't Kids Anymore, that me being on stage, living my authentic self, can be a way for audiences here in the UK to maybe see me just as a normal human being, just like them.
It's difficult times for the trans community in the United States as well. We are seeing policies from the Trump administration that many would see as anti-trans. Again, how do you see the situation right now, and what do you think your voice could be?
Well, I think that it's sad. It's a sad thing to see someone trying to take away the rights of humans that are just trying to live their lives. Again, we're not monsters. We're people that have woken up and stepped into our authentic selves. For me, that's a very camp, fun, feminine human being who also happens to be a woman. And I think what I'm now excited is to step into this next chapter of my life and realize that there are so many other trans people who should be speaking on those things. And I'm finding my way in right now, which is through theater.
The trans issue has become a bit of a wedge issue politically in the States, in other parts of the world as well. How do you think we got here? And a lot of people say that the conversation hasn't been inclusive of everyone, and a lot of voices have been silenced, especially on the gender-critical view. Again, what are your thoughts, and how do you think you could improve the conversation?
I think trans people have always been here, and it's not something that just happened. It's not something that's being pushed on us by any certain influence or influencer. And I really think that people need to maybe stay in their lane a little bit. I think it's a very frustrating time. But I also think that, right now in my life, it's for me to be here doing theater and singing and dancing, and that's what brings me joy.
So you're in London, and we're at the rehearsal studios.
It's my favorite city in the world.
Oh, good. We're happy to hear that. Because you have a West End musical coming up, We Aren't Kids Anymore. And actually, you started your career on Broadway. So how excited are you to be in London? And what are the differences between the West End and Broadway?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, everyone is constantly saying, "Are you happy?" And that feels like a very serious question, because I'm like, well, usually if I ask someone if they're happy, it goes into, you know, a very deep intellectual conversation. But usually it'll, you know, we'll be at the piano and "Are you happy?" And that means that I've learned the notes or the lines. And, or people say, when, like, my music director will say, if she really wants it belted out, she'll be like, "Give us beans." And I don't really know what that is either. And so there's been a little bit of learning, but this has been such a dream, because I did do a musical called The Book of Mormon back in America, and we toured all across the country and Mexico and Canada. But I think for me, this feels like a really beautiful, fresh start from you know, getting to perform in my identity, getting to take on a role that feels so open and honest and I can relate to, and in a city that feels like there's so much culture and history, that I just feel so lucky to be here.
So let me finish with that question. After you went through the dark times with the Bud Light ad, are you happy now?
I'm so happy. And I think what I've realized even just in these past few days of rehearsal is that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's not to be going to the White House to, you know, question the president, and it's, you know, not to have to feel like a voice of a generation, but to be the voice of myself in a musical, and that feels like the best version of me.
Do you regret doing that, going to the White House?
I talk about it in the book, actually. I write about how I think that was maybe meant for someone else, that a different, you know, trans community member. But I try to not have regrets. I'm just trying to move forward in my life.